Hebrews chapter 11, it says, by faith Abel offered to God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, through which he obtained witness that he was righteous, God testifying of his gifts, and though he, being dead, still speaks. The offering was an offering of faith, and it is faith which made the offering more excellent. If you understand this, you will understand the importance of faith in both testaments of the Bible. It was not faith that made Abel bring a more excellent sacrifice. In other words, I have a pile of gold here and I've got a pile of silver here, and I say, well, I'm going to take the gold. That's not what made Abel bring a more excellent sacrifice. Instead, it was faith that made the sacrifice more excellent. Let me read that again. It wasn't faith that made Abel bring a more excellent sacrifice. Instead, it was faith that made the sacrifice more excellent. If you can understand the difference between those two concepts, then you are on the highway to the most complete and friendly walk with your Creator possible.
It's the difference between seeing the outside
and seeing the inside. That's exactly right. The rest of the Bible in both Testaments bears this out. It isn't the type of offering, and it is not the amount of offering that God respects. It is the faith behind the offering. Here are two examples, one from the Old Testament, one from the New Testament, and then we're going to move on. The first one is from Micah. It says, with what shall I come before the Lord and bow myself before the high God? Shall I come before him? These are mandatory sacrifices that he gave in the law of Moses. Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, 10,000 rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He has shown you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? But to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. The sacrifices that are mentioned there are exactly what the law asked for. In fact, in Isaiah chapter 1, these mandatory sacrifices are said to make the Lord weary. He says here, I have had enough of burnt offerings and rams and the fat of fed cattle. I do not delight in the blood of bulls or of lambs or goats. When you come to appear before me, who has required this from your hands, to trample my courts? Who required these sacrifices? God did. And yet he rejected them because they lacked faith. God could not care diddly about the type or amount of offering. If the heart is not right with you, when you present your offering to God, it is not an acceptable offering to God. Here's another example from the New Testament. Now Jesus sat opposite the treasury and saw how the people put money into the treasury, and many who were rich put in much. Then one poor widow came and threw in 2 mites, which makes a quadrans. So he called his disciples to himself and said to them, assuredly, I say to you that this poor widow has put in more than all those who have given to the treasury. For they all put out of their abundance, but she, out of her poverty, put in all she had, her whole livelihood. It took faith for her to put that money in there because it was all she had. But what is faith? It's believing that God will tend to her. And in the law of Moses, it says that you are to care for widows and orphans. And she knew that. And she was demonstrating that faith would be exercised for her benefit. 2 mites were put in, and it meant more than all the other offerings that were put in to God because of her faith. The Lord looks for faith among his faithless creatures. So just a little bit will do. And that brings